Hello and welcome to another College Basketball Weekly brought to you by the Full Court Network. LT in the saddle again, Sammy D with me, my friend, my man, my partner in crime. We're going to talk about college basketball as we near and wind down the schedule, getting close to March conference tournaments and March Madness. But don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Smash, dunk, slam, charge, elbow, knee, the subscribe button to the Full Court Network. Hopefully you're home for college basketball. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And check out our Substack page, which is growing by the second minute with the subscriber list, and also Instagram and Twitter. So we had a really good episode last week with Coach Richard Pitino of New Mexico. We got another great episode this week with our guy, Pat Scarry from Towson University. The Tigers on the Full Court Press, a college basketball coach's experience. Check that out. But when we talked to Richard Pitino, it just elevated my love and knowledge for the Mountain West. And you know what? It's simply put, is the Mountain West different?
Yeah, I mean, it is. You've gotten so much recognition just from wins and losses and just how good the teams are, right? I mean, the Mountain West is one of only 5 conferences to have 4 or more NCAA tournament bids each of the last 3 seasons, right? So, I mean, they're definitely top tier when it comes to quality of basketball. Yep. But when you watch these games, you go to these games, this conference might have the best fan base in any conference, top to bottom.
Oh, my God. Oh my God.
The fans at these schools are they're so passionate. They understand basketball, which I really appreciate, right? These fans have just high basketball IQ from a fan's perspective. And, yeah, I mean, you just hear so much about the programs, whether it's like New Mexico or Utah State this year. You know, both of those programs are 22-4, which is tied for 6th best winning percentage in the country. You hear a lot about individual players from Colorado State's Nick Clifford, New Mexico's Donovan Dent and Nelly Jr. Joseph, San Diego State's Megan Guath, Miles Bird, Wyoming's Obi Agbin. You know, they're all ranking in the top 10 in individual categories in the entire country.
Yep.
But look at the fans. New Mexico's the Pit, consistently putting 13 to 14,000 people in the seats, no matter who they play. Right? Yep. Utah State and the Herd, just loud, and they show up, right? I mean, we've heard it from both Coach Calhoun as well as people who go to Utah State and Logan. We've got San Diego State, which is just massive and vocal student section that they've dubbed the show, which I love that. I love that they call the student section the show.
That's awesome.
Right? Colorado State's Moby Arena, you know, they had the big striped out game this past weekend, Wyoming's Dome of Doom. I mean, it just goes top to bottom, and you've been there, you've seen it. I mean, what do you think?
You know, I love it. I mean, you know, whether it's San Diego State, whether it's Moby at Colorado State, I mean, Boise State, and then, you know, the Herd at Utah State, and then obviously the Pit. I mean, you can't go wrong. It's such good basketball and great coaches, and it's just fun. And I just absolutely love it. And it's, you know, you've got New Mexico 14-1 in conference, Utah State's 12-3, San Diego State's 10-4, as is Colorado State, and Boise State's 9-5. And they're all getting close to 20 wins. I mean, New Mexico and Utah State both have 22. And, you know, this is going to be a multi-bid league again this year. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. And we're not talking maybe 1 or 2. I think they're going to get 3 or 4. I think they're very deserving, but it'll be interesting. But, yeah, if you can ever stay up a little bit later and watch Mountain West basketball, it's awesome. But and actually, one of these teams has one of the longest winning streaks, and it's led by the Akron Zips with 13 wins in a row. Isn't that crazy?
I know. Good for Coach Gross and the Zips, man. They there's a lot of question marks in the beginning of this season. You know, they lost a couple key players from last year. I think what Akron's doing right now just shows how good of a coach John Gross is.
Yeah. Yep. Year in and year out. And then Towson State, who we have Coach Scarry on. I mean, the Tigers are on fire. Yale's doing really well. I mean, Yale is John Pulakidis. See, I don't even have to write the name down. Go. Coach Jones is doing it. And then you got High Point, the Huss Bus. Get on that Huss Bus. Love it. New Mexico is on fire. And then you look at Central Connecticut State. And then Montana is a team I want to talk about in a second Then you got Eastern Kentucky, UC San Diego, SEMO, Southeastern Missouri, and Chattanooga. And the funny thing is, of these 11 teams, what do 7 of them have in common?
I have no idea. You just threw that.
7 of those 11 teams have been on the Full Court Press, a college basketball coaches show. And some of these teams have been on multiple times.
Yeah, I love it.
So if you want to win and kick some ass, you want to be on the Full Court Press or the Full Court Network, College Basketball Weekly, which we're on. But I've been really impressed with Montana, the Grizzlies. Travis DeCuire is the coach. Been there for almost, I think he's in his 11th season. They're 19-8, 12-2. They were 24-12 last season, 12-6. I mean, I really like their team. When you got a guy named Money Williams on your team, I'm going to cheer for you. LT is going to be a big fan of Money Williams. 12.7 points game. Malik Moore, 13.6. They had a win recently against Coach Smiley and the Golden Bears.
I know.
UNC
guy looks good up top. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I would check out Montana. I'm kind of surprised Montana didn't go to the Mountain West.
Yet. I want to know why you haven't named any of your kids Money Taylor.
I call him Big Money.
There you go. That counts. But yeah, Montana's looking really sharp in the big spot. Big Sky's really good at the top of the conference. You already said, they're giving Coach Smiley and the UNC Bears a run for the regular season title. That's going to be fun coming down to the last game, I think.
Yeah. What would you say your biggest surprise in the Power 5 schools are? Give me your biggest surprise. Let's start with the SEC since they're dominating. Which team would you say you're surprised the most by?
Missouri.
Really?
I mean, they went from last in the conference a year ago with an 0-18 record to 5th in the conference, and they're currently ranked 15th in the country right now. Mm-hmm. You went from 14th in your conference to 15th in the country in 1 year. And, Dennis Gates was on everybody's hot seat because of the wins and losses record last year. I'm shocked. I expected him to have a better year. I did not expect them to be a top 20 team and could move into the top 10 before the NCAA tournament starts, the way they're playing.
Yeah. I have 2 kind of surprises. Arkansas is 1 because they're 15-10, 4-8 in the SEC. When you come over from Kentucky and you bring that many horses and studs, and you're 4-8 your conference, that's a little bit disappointing. But I would say my biggest surprise, other than Missouri, and I do agree with you to a certain extent, is Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just thought it was the Wade Taylor show, but they brought Zurich Phelps from SMU, averaging 14.4, 5.1 points per game. I mean, whatever Buzz Williams is doing down in Lubbock or College Station, is phenomenal. They're 9-3 in the SEC, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Buzz Williams is a really good coach, and everywhere he's been adored by the fan bases. He gets involved with the community, and I think kind of building that culture down there. It's really it's showing, and it's also showing what kind of culture needs to get built to win, right? Yeah. I mean, it just shows how well they're playing together.
Yeah. So we go to the ACC. We'll go alphabetically now because we just, we like to mess it up. I really have 3 teams, but I think I have one ahead. SMU has really impressed me.
Ooh,
new in the conference, new coach Andy Enfield came from USC. They're 19-6, 10-4. I mean, this is year 1, and they lost Zurich Phelps, who was their leading scorer, I believe, last year for SMU. I mean, they're just getting it done. But then it's what's close is Clemson, 21-5. They lost a lot of players. They're 13-2 in conference. Just beat Duke, most recently at home about a week ago now. And then Louisville. What Coach Pat Kelsey's doing is scary in year 1, 20-6, 13-2. And I mean, they kind of have a little rocky road in the beginning of the season, but they're good. And I knew they were going to be good. I just didn't realize it was going to be this soon.
Yeah, I had Louisville at the top of my list. They're the only ones in the ACC I think are deserving of this list we put together. I mean, and here's another team that finished last place in their conference just 1 year ago. I'm not sure there's a better fit with the offseason hires that happened from this past year than Pat Kelsey in Louisville.
Yeah.
It's a first-year turnaround, which is kind of unheard of right now with what's going on in college basketball. He has them in the top 25. 4-game winning streak. They're tied for second with Clemson, who, again, it's surprising me how well Clemson is and is doing, but not as much as Louisville. Louisville, they're favored to win in their final 5 games, so they could go into the ACC tournament with a 9-game win streak and just a ton of confidence. You could see Louisville jump into the top 15 national polls before the NCAA tournament starts.
Yeah, I was on a very friendly and very interesting and very informative Duke space last night, and really a bunch of just a group of just passionate basketball fans. And I asked them just, point blank, what team are you most worried about come conference time? And they said Clemson. So I think both those teams are Clemson, Louisville, and even SMU could do some damage in conference. Let's go to the Big 12. I'm going to start with my most disappointing or biggest surprise is Kansas. I mean, when have you, in all your years of following Kansas basketball like myself, when have you thought that they'd be number 25 in the rankings?
Yeah, I mean, it happens every once in a while. They drop into like the teens and stuff, like low teens and stuff like that. But it's they're on the verge of not being ranked at all. They're the most inconsistent team in all the power conferences, I think. And when you look at the record, it's just, okay, you win one day, you lose the next day, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. That's just how, I think the last 12 games have gone right now. Mm-hmm. They haven't put together a 2-game winning streak in the entire year, I don't think. So it's it's just crazy. And, I haven't seen the KU team that I want to see since middle of last season, in all honesty. It just seems like something's off. It seems like Bill Self and the staff, they're just having a hard time kind of navigating player rosters and time on the court and moving younger guys in, where it's I feel like he used to do a really good job of that. He used to play a lot of the freshmen and sophomores more time. Now he's got these 5th, 6th-year guys, and he's given them a lot of playing time because of what they've done historically, but I'm not sure it's the best thing for the team. There's a lot of games in the Big 12 conference that they should have won that they didn't.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. But I would say my most pleasant surprise is Texas Tech.
Oh, okay.
I never knew what they were going to do. They lost Pop Isaacs to Creighton, and what Grant McCaslin is doing down in Lubbock, I got it right this time, with the Red Raiders, is pretty darn impressive. They're 20-5, 11-3. They got JT Toppin from the New Mexico Lobos, who I was a big fan of last year. They've got a couple. They've got McMillan and Williams doing really well. They play Houston and at Kansas, kind of in the middle of what's remained their conference schedule. I mean, I think what he's doing and what now Coach Hodge, who took over from at North Texas, is doing is really going to elevate Coach Hodge into someone that's going to be a hot commodity come the end of the season and stuff like that. But I'm really impressed with Texas Tech.
Do you see McCaslin staying there long term?
Yes, he's got a whole bunch. He's got 10 goats or something like that, or 10 alpaca or some weird crap like that. Which is not weird, but he's got a farm and he's got a whole bunch of kids, and he's a Texas guy. I think he went to University of Houston, graduated. I saw him. They're talking about Indiana and stuff like that.
I'm just saying, I'm seeing his name float around a lot of place right now. I don't.
You're in the Big 12.
I agree.
He's got a high buyout, I think.
Yeah, my biggest surprise in the Big 12 is West Virginia and what Coach DeVries is doing over there. A little streaky here and there, but with the resources that DeVries has, I think he has exceeded everybody's expectations in year one, especially having Tucker injured. And I think that they've won a lot of games that no one expected them to win, and I think it bodes really well for the next 3 to 5 years for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, I agree, especially if Tucker DeVries gets another year back. Let's go to the Big East, somewhere near and dear to our heart. I would say 2 of my biggest surprises is Providence, because I think they're so talented, but they've just been hit by the injury bug. Sure. And we're both big fans of Kim English. They're 12-14, 6-9. But that's a team, I think, if they can get hot, which I think they're playing really well right now, if they can get hot during the conference tournament, they can maybe potentially sneak at least around in the NCAA tournament. Potentially. I know you don't agree with it. I love Wesley Cardet Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a.
But there's a lot of variables, right? But I would say my biggest surprise, but not really, is St. John's. 22-4, 13-2. If you look at which Rick Pitino does in year 2 of every school he's been to, it's kind of not surprising.
Yeah, you just kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I got St. John's at the top of this list. I had them finishing like 5th or 6th this year in conference, and I thought that was a stretch, right? But they are at the top of the conference. I don't think they're going anywhere soon. And I think if the tournament started tomorrow, I would put them in a Final Four bid.
Wow. Yeah, they're fun. I'm a big fan of the Johnnies. Sorry, Red Storm. Okay, Johnnies. Big fans of the Patinos. All right, let's go with the last conference here. We'll go with the Big Ten. Who would you say is your biggest surprise?
I've got Michigan. You know, I mean, they're
Really?
12-2 in conference, 6-game win streak. There should never be a question ever again if Dusty May is a winner or not. Like, I mean, he took that job and got started from day one, and what he's done there to turn around that program, build it into a program that the Michigan faithful are proud of, and it's one of the best fan bases in the country. And it's really surprising what they've done. I thought it was going to take Dusty May year 2, maybe year 3, just because, the top of the Big Ten is usually pretty good. But he catapulted, right? He jumped over everybody pretty quickly. And they're a really good team to watch.
Yeah, I would say Michigan's up there, as is Michigan State, but the one that just is head scratching to me is Greg Gard at Wisconsin. I mean, 20-5, 10-4. You lose your leading scorer to transfer to Kansas, AJ Storr. You lose Crowell and Wall, both graduated, and then you lose Chucky Hepburn, who's tearing it up for Louisville. All like those to the transfer portal, but they brought John Tonga from where did he come from? Missouri, but was at Colorado State before, and he's just lining it up. I mean, they're just, John Blackwell, he was a sophomore or freshman last year, 8 points a game. Now he's averaging 15.2. I mean, I thought Gard was going to be on the hot seat this year, and he's proved everybody wrong. I mean, I'm really impressed with the Badgers.
Absolutely.
So would you say this is Bruce Pearl's legacy year?
Could be. I mean, we talked about it earlier this season, right? And I like Bruce Pearl as a coach, but I'm not buying that he's one of the best ever or one of the best in his era even, right? If they don't win the national championship, I think it's not a great season for Auburn, right? And I usually don't say that about programs, but the amount of talent Bruce Pearl has, how well they've performed, and they've exceeded my expectations this year during the regular season, how well they've performed. He just has this thing where when he enters the tournament, they take a half off. His teams take a half off, and he can't kind of get them back into it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you see that in a lot of things. I mean, he has all these personal accolades from the past 30 years, spanning from his time in D2 to the Horizon League to his time in the SEC with Tennessee and Auburn, right? But he's coached in D1 for 20 years, 13 NCAA tournament appearances, and he's only made it to the second week twice. Like, he's only made it once with Auburn, right? And it was a great Final Four run. But it's going to be really hard to get past those first couple rounds this year because they are going to have such a big target on their back. There is so much game film out there where everybody is going to give them their best shot once the NCAA tournament starts, because they're going to be the favorite going into it, in my point of view.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I answer your question. I think this is his legacy year. Like, if he wins, he could go down as one of the best coaches in his era. If he loses, that question mark and that monkey on his back is going to be there for a long time.
Yeah, 22 and 23 NCAA tournaments. He made it to the second day, set round is 32. And then last year, obviously lost to Yale, was upset. Final Four in 2019, Elite Eight in 2010, Sweet 16s in 05, 07, and 08. He actually took the Milwaukee Panthers to a Sweet 16. So they're 23 and 2, 11 and 1. I mean, when you have Janai Broom, I mean, he's an instant double-double. So I don't disagree with you. I think they're good, and I do agree. If they don't make it to the championship game, let alone win, I think it has to be a disappointing season in Auburn, Alabama. But one player I want to talk about that's really doing well. He was a preseason player of the year in the American Athletic Conference. Yaxel Lendenborg, 6'9", 240 from New Jersey. You know, UAB's had an interesting year. They're 16-9, 9-3. They're preseason first pick in the polls. He's an instant double-double, 17.9 points per game, 10.8 rebounds per game. The thing that really jumps out is assist per game 4.2, but field goal percentage is 56.8%, top 35. You know, last year he's improved from last year. He was the American Defensive Player of the Year, first team all athletic AAC, and he was a two-time All-American. He actually led JUCO in rebounding in 2023. And I mean, if you can watch this kid play, he's a high motor, highly skilled player that, you know, definitely you could see in the NBA next year or whenever.
100%. I mean, that's all I was going to say is he's not getting the recognition in college because he's at UAB and they've kind of had a weird year, as you already said, right? He's on every single NBA team's draft board, right? And I think he's going to be a first-round pick, and I think he could be a future NBA All-Star in his fourth or fifth year in the NBA. So if you have a chance to watch this kid in college, do it. He's built for the NBA, like when you watch him play, right? Yep. And you get him on like a end of the first round draft of the NBA. He'll be on a good team. He's going to put up some numbers. He's going to be a supporting player for the first couple of years, but he's going to make some noise in the league.
Yeah. So check out Yaxel Lendenborg at UAB. Well, Sammy, I think that's it, man. Another great episode of the College Basketball Weekly, brought to you by the Full Court Network. Another great week of college basketball as we near the end of the season, and it's.
You got any games you're watching?
No.
I got Thursday USC at Maryland. I just want to watch Derek Queen play as much as possible. You know, 6'10" freshman, averaging 16 points a game, 9 rebounds. You know, shout out to St. Thomas as well, who's a former guest of ours. He'll be playing in that game, leading USC in rebounds. Friday, Michigan State at Michigan.
Yeah, that's going to be
that. I know you're going to be watching that one.
Saturday,
Saturday, Iowa State at Houston. And Sunday, we get to watch a really pissed off UConn team play at St. John's, which I think that's going to be a battle. Yeah.
As Ray Lewis says, I'm pissed off for greatness. So, but I'm excited. I mean, there's too many games to let you know how many games I watch, and even just highlight packages and stuff like that. But, you know, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you're watching us on YouTube currently right now with our fine Full Court Network hats or Full Court Press hats, click the subscribe button, like and comment, share with your friends. You know, we're really trying to grow it and go it. And then also Apple Podcast 5-star reviews. And check out this week's Full Court Press, a college basketball coaches show with Coach Scary. And we'll be back next week on the College Basketball